Brought to you by the EveryDollar app. Start budgeting for free today.
So I'm in a unique situation. I am currently in vet school with about 2 years left. And through some loan simulators and things like that, I've been able to calculate that I'm going to end school with about $400,000 to $420,000 in student loan debt. So I guess my question is related to how can I set myself up now and in the future for the best financial position to be in, and should I take advantage of situations like the public service loan forgiveness to potentially rely on that for some of this loan debt?
Well, you say you have 2 years to go, so right now would be the time to stop in your tracks and stop creating more debt, because how much do you have at this point?
So at this point, I'm about $240,000 in debt, but I have 2 years remaining in my vet school program.
And then your question after that was basically, what can I do to have better choices and be on a better financial footing? And the answer to that question is right now. Like, you've got $240,000 now. You got to turn the faucet off. Like, you're just going to... There's no point in letting this get to 400, 425, 450 when you can stop it now. And I think that's the first thing, is let's come up with a path to where you can finish these last 2 years and we're not taking out student loans and going into massive amounts of debt in order to do that. That's fair, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So what would that look like?
Well, it would likely look like probably finding a job while I'm in school.
Okay, like that?
To pay for some of the tuition and fees that come up.
Perfect.
Then I guess I don't really have any other debts outside of my student loans. And so
but let's not take solace in that. Let's not take solace in the fact that you don't have any other debt outside of your student loans, because your student loans are astronomical. So I don't want you leaning on that like, well, it's only it's just these student loans, because it's a lot. So I don't want you to let your mind go there.
Are you single?
Go ahead, John or George.
Are you single, Aaron? Is it just your income?
I am single, yes.
Okay, what's your current income?
I am currently a full-time student, and as far as in school, it's kind of tough because it is a professional program to have.
So how are you
income.
living?
So on the student loans.
Okay, so you're putting all of your life's expenses on these student loans, essentially.
Yes.
What will you earn when you get out of school?
So coming out of school, it's going to be dependent on location, but about $100,000 to $150,000 starting out.
And you understand that if you're going to go the student loan forgiveness route, you would have to work for a nonprofit animal welfare organization or shelter.
Yes.
Or like the Department of Agriculture, which means your income's going to be limited.
Yes.
You're not going to make as much as if you were in private practice.
Salaries. Yeah, I've looked at some of the average salaries for some of those positions, and again, location dependent, but about $90,000 to $100,000.
Okay, so think about it this way. Let's say you go and you make 90. That's a best case scenario, right out of school. Well, making 90, and now you still have bills to pay. You're only going to be able to put away, let's say 30, if you're lucky, on your student loans every year. Which means you're on a track with interest, maybe pay this off in 15 or 20 years. That plan sucks. And so we're trying to set you on a path to where you're already going to graduate with debt. We know that. We're trying to limit the damage and stop the bleeding so that you can get out in 3 or 4 years instead of that. So if you can go out there in the marketplace and be making 150, well, that changes the numbers. And that's why I'm not a fan of these public student loan forgiveness programs. Number one, very hard to qualify. You have to play their game perfectly. You can't have anything wrong on the application or you're denied. And it's abysmal seeing the rates of forgiveness that are actually happening out there. So it's not a plan you should bank on anyways. But the other side is that you're locked into working for these nonprofit agencies, which limits your income. You might be able to make double in a private practice, but you can't because you're handcuffed to this nonprofit and to this PSLF. So do you see the conundrum here?
Yes, I do.
And so your best bet is to, number one, minimize the damage. Is there a way to transfer and go to a more affordable vet school at this stage?
At this point in my education, unfortunately, no, because I would likely have to backtrack just because some of the programs are so different from each other.
Do we know that, or is that an assumption? Do we know that for real?
I've looked into it when I was way earlier on in my academic career, and I had actually a close friend who did transfer from one program to another and had to backtrack by a year.
Okay. My next question would be, how old are you?
I'm 25.
Okay. There's not, I'm just going to be honest, there's no scenario where I'm going to say, yeah, just go ahead and take these loans and, deal with it when you deal with it. So for me, even if that means like I got to take a break and stack up some money so I can pay for the next semester, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this happen, because there is a part of this equation where there's something that we want and we want to have it quickly, right? When you think, oh, this is the career I want it in 4 years, so I'm going to take this degree and I'm going to take student loans to make it happen. But just like so many of the other things that we talk about with finance, it takes time in order to have what it is that you want. And sometimes with education, it's no different, right? You want this fancy vet degree, it's expensive, you can't afford it. So there is something that to be said for, okay, how much time realistically is it going to take me to get this? And I might not have it by cultural or normal standards of time. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And so, yeah, we think, okay, 4-year degree, maybe 5 years, but this might take you longer to have that. And you have to decide, is it worth me having it the right way, the way that causes the least amount of risk and friction in my life? Or do I want it now the way I want it, and I'm going to go into $500,000 of debt in order to get it and then make $30,000 a year debt payments? I mean, the choice is yours.
So, Aaron, you got some homework in front of you. And like we said, your best path is to limit the bleeding here and then make as much money on the back end and pay this off as quickly as possible. But I would not graduate and then hope that 10 years down the line of working in nonprofits that you get these forgiven. That's a bad plan.
Create your free every dollar budget today, the simplest way to budget for your life.